The rain was coming down hard that Tuesday night in October. David was working late again at the radio telescope facility, just like he had been doing for the past 3 months. As a scientist who studied space and stars, he often worked through the night when the skies were clear. But tonight was different. The storm outside was so loud that he could barely concentrate on his research. David had always been the kind of person who loved quiet nights and peaceful moments. At 32 years old, he had dedicated his life to understanding the universe. His small apartment near the observatory was filled with books about planets and galaxies. Most people thought his job was boring, but David found magic in the endless darkness of space. Around midnight, he heard something strange outside. It wasn't the usual sound of rain hitting the roof or wind blowing through the trees. This was different, like someone was calling for help. David put down his coffee cup and walked to the window. Through the heavy rain, he could see a figure lying on the ground near the main entrance. Without thinking twice, David grabbed his jacket and ran outside into the storm. The cold rain hit his face as he rushed toward the person on the ground. When he got closer, he saw it was a woman. She appeared to be in her late 20s with long, dark hair that was completely soaked from the rain. Her clothes were torn and muddy, as if she had been walking for miles. "Are you okay?" David asked, kneeling down beside her. "Can you hear me?" The woman opened her eyes slowly. David had never seen eyes like hers before. They were a strange blue color that seemed to change in the dim light. She looked at him with confusion, as if she wasn't sure where she was or how she had gotten there. I can't," she whispered, struggling to speak. "The air, it's so thick here." David noticed that she was having trouble breathing. Her chest was moving up and down rapidly, like she couldn't get enough oxygen. He helped her sit up and noticed something unusual. The moment he got closer to her, her breathing became easier. It was as if his presence somehow helped her. "Let's get you inside where it's warm," David said gently. He helped her stand up, and she leaned against him heavily. As they walked toward the building, he noticed that she seemed to breathe better when he was right next to her. Once inside, David gave her a warm blanket and some hot tea. The woman sat in the chair across from his desk, but she kept looking at him with those strange blue eyes. Every time he moved more than a few steps away from her, she would start breathing heavily again. "What's your name?" David asked, sitting back down near her. "Luna," she replied, her voice soft but clear. "My name is Luna." "That's a beautiful name," David said. "Luna, how did you end up outside in this storm? Do you live nearby?" Luna looked confused for a moment, as if she was trying to remember something important. I fell," she said finally. "I fell from very high up. I've been walking for 3 days, looking for what?" David asked gently. "Looking for someone like you," Luna said, staring directly at him. "Someone whose energy matches mine, someone who can help me breathe." David thought this was a strange thing to say, but he could see that Luna was clearly in distress. Maybe she had hit her head when she fell, or maybe she was just scared and confused. He decided not to ask too many questions right away. "Are you hurt anywhere?" he asked. "Should I call a doctor?" "No doctors," Luna said quickly, looking frightened. "Please, no doctors, they won't understand." David nodded. He wasn't sure what Luna meant, but he could see that the idea of seeing a doctor really scared her. "Okay, no doctors for now, but you should rest. There's a small guest room here at the facility. You can stay there tonight, and we'll figure things out in the morning." As David showed Luna to the guest room, something strange happened. The building had several hallways and rooms, but every time David walked more than 20 or 30 feet away from Luna, she would start breathing heavily and looking panicked. It was as if there was an invisible rope connecting them, and when the rope got too long, Luna couldn't function properly. This is very strange, David thought to himself. But he was a scientist, and scientists are naturally curious about unusual things. Instead of being scared, he found himself wanting to understand what was happening. That night, David couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Luna and her strange reaction to being near him. He had studied physics and biology in college, but he had never heard of anything like this before. People didn't usually have trouble breathing just because another person walked away from them. Around 3 in the morning, David decided to check on Luna. He walked quietly to the guest room and found her sitting by the window, looking up at the stormy sky. She wasn't sleeping either. "Can't sleep?" David asked softly. Luna turned to look at him, and again he noticed how her breathing became easier when he entered the room. "I keep thinking about home," she said. "But I'm not sure if I remember it correctly." "Where is home for you, Luna?" Luna was quiet for a long time before answering. "Very far away," she said finally. "So far that most people would say it's impossible to travel there." David sat down in the chair across from her. "Nothing is impossible," he said. "I spend my nights studying stars that are billions of miles away. Distance is just a number." Luna smiled for the first time since David had found her. It was a sad smile, but it made her whole face look different. "You're kind," she said. "That's why I can breathe when you're near me. Kind people have a special energy around them." "Luna, can you tell me more about what happened to you, about how you got here?" Luna looked out the window again. 3 nights ago I was traveling. Something went wrong, and I ended up here in your world. But my body isn't made for this place. The air here is different. The gravity is different. Everything is different. I was walking for days, getting weaker and weaker, until I found you." "Found me?" "But I found you outside in the storm." "No," Luna said, looking directly at David again. "I was drawn to this place because of you. Your energy called to me from miles away. Without someone like you nearby, I can't survive here." David didn't know what to think about this explanation. It sounded impossible, but he couldn't ignore what he had seen with his own eyes. Luna clearly did have trouble breathing when he wasn't close to her, and there was something about her that seemed different from anyone he had ever met before. "Luna, are you saying you're not from around here?" "I'm from very, very far away, David, and I think I'm stuck here now." The way she said his name made David realize that he had never told her what his name was. "How do you know my name?" Luna looked surprised, as if she hadn't realized what she had said. I'm not sure. I just knew it was David. Just like I knew I needed to find you." David felt a chill run down his spine, but it wasn't from fear. It was from excitement. As a scientist, he had always dreamed of discovering something that would change everything people thought they knew about the world. Maybe Luna was that discovery. "Luna, will you let me help you figure this out? Will you trust me?" Luna nodded, slowly. "I don't think I have any other choice. Without you, I don't think I can survive." As the sun began to rise outside, David made a decision that would change his life forever. He decided to help this mysterious woman, no matter how strange her story seemed. Something deep inside him told him that Luna was telling the truth, even though he couldn't prove it yet. Little did David know that this was just the beginning of the most incredible and challenging experience of his life. 2 weeks had passed since David found Luna in the storm, and their strange situation had become even more puzzling. Every morning, David would wake up in his small apartment and drive to the observatory where Luna was staying in the guest room. Every evening, he would stay late just to make sure she was okay. His whole routine had changed because of this mysterious woman who claimed she couldn't breathe without him nearby. At first, David thought maybe Luna was just scared or confused. Maybe she had been in some kind of accident that affected her mind. But as the days went by, he realized that her breathing problem was very real. Whenever he walked more than 50 feet away from her, Luna would start gasping for air like someone drowning on dry land. Her lips would turn blue and she would panic until he came back. David tried everything he could think of to help her. He bought an oxygen tank from a medical supply store, thinking maybe Luna just needed extra oxygen, but it didn't work. He tried different rooms in the building, thinking maybe it was something in the air of that particular space. That didn't work either. The only thing that helped Luna breathe normally was having David close to her. Dr. Peterson, the head of the observatory, started asking questions. He was a kind man in his 60s who had been like a father to David since he started working there. "David, who is this woman staying in our guest room?" he asked one afternoon. "And why do you spend so much time with her?" David didn't know how to explain the situation without sounding crazy. "She's someone who needs help," he said simply. "She doesn't have anywhere else to go." "Is she sick? Should we call a doctor?" David remembered how frightened Luna had been when he first suggested getting medical help. "She's afraid of doctors," he said. "I think she's been through something traumatic." Dr. Peterson looked concerned. "David, you're a good person, but you can't save everyone. This woman might need professional help that you can't provide." That night, David talked to Luna about what Dr. Peterson had said. They were sitting in the small kitchen area of the observatory, sharing a simple dinner of soup and bread. Luna had gotten better at eating human food, though she said everything tasted strange to her. "Luna, my boss thinks you might need to see a doctor. Maybe there's something medically wrong that we don't understand." Luna shook her head quickly. "David, doctors in your world wouldn't understand what's wrong with me. They would run tests and ask questions, and when they couldn't find answers, they might try to separate us. That would be very dangerous for me. But what if they could help? What if there's a treatment or medication that could make you better?" Luna reached across the table and took David's hand. The moment their skin touched, David felt something strange. It was like a small electric current, warm and gentle. He had felt it before, but hadn't really paid attention to it. "Do you feel that?" Luna asked softly. David nodded. "What is it?" "It's our connection. It's what keeps me alive in your world. Your body produces something that mine needs to survive here. I don't understand it completely either, but I know it's real." Over the next few days, David started paying more attention to this connection Luna talked about. He noticed that when he was stressed or upset, Luna seemed to have more trouble breathing. When he was calm and relaxed, she was more comfortable. It was as if their bodies were somehow linked together. David also began to notice changes in himself. He started having vivid dreams about places he had never been. In these dreams, he was standing under a sky filled with 2 moons, breathing air that smelled like flowers and rain. Sometimes in the dreams, Luna was there, but she looked different, stronger and more confident. "Luna, I've been having strange dreams," David told her one morning. "Dreams about a place with 2 moons in the sky." Luna's eyes widened with surprise. "You've been dreaming about my home," she said quietly. "That shouldn't be possible unless..." "Unless what?" "Unless our connection is deeper than I thought. David, I think helping me survive might be changing you too." This worried David, but not for the reasons he expected. He wasn't scared of changing. Instead, he was scared that he was somehow hurting Luna or making her situation worse. "Am I doing something wrong? Is this connection dangerous for you?" "No," Luna said quickly. "It's not dangerous for me, but I'm worried it might be dangerous for you. In my world, when 2 beings form this kind of connection, both of them are changed by it. I don't know what that means for someone from your world." David thought about this for a long time. His life had definitely changed since finding Luna. He thought about her constantly when they were apart, even if it was just for a few minutes. He had started eating different foods because Luna preferred them. He found himself humming songs that he had never heard before, but that Luna said reminded her of home. The strangest change was that David had begun to sense Luna's emotions, even when she wasn't in the same room. If she was scared or sad, he would suddenly feel anxious and want to check on her. If she was happy or peaceful, he felt the same way. One evening, Dr. Peterson approached David again. "David, I've been watching you these past few weeks. You seem different. Are you taking care of yourself?" David looked at his reflection in the window. He did look different. His eyes seemed brighter and his skin had a healthier glow than usual. He had more energy during the day and slept better at night, despite all the strange dreams. "I feel good, Dr. Peterson. Better than I've felt in years, actually." "That's good to hear, but I'm worried about this situation with the woman. Other people are starting to ask questions. Government people." David felt his heart skip a beat. Government people? Someone reported seeing strange lights in the sky the night you found her. They want to interview both of you. David, if this woman is involved in something dangerous— She's not dangerous, David said quickly. She's just someone who needs help. But Dr. Peterson's words worried David. That night he told Luna what his boss had said about government officials wanting to ask questions. Luna looked frightened. David, if official people start investigating, they'll want to separate us to see what happens. They'll want to study me like an experiment. But if they take me away from you, you'll die, David finished quietly. Yes. And I think you might be hurt too. Our connection has grown stronger. I can feel your heartbeat sometimes when you're sleeping. I can sense your thoughts when you're worried about something. David realized that Luna was right. He had started to depend on their connection just as much as she did. The thought of being separated from her made him feel panicked and empty. Then we'll figure out a way to avoid them, David said. I won't let anyone hurt you, Luna. And I won't let anyone separate us. Luna smiled sadly. David, you've already given up so much. For me. Your normal life, your routine, your privacy. How long can you keep living this way? David took Luna's hand and felt that familiar warm energy pass between them. As long as you need me to, he said simply. But even as he said the words, David wondered what would happen if the government officials found them. He wondered what would happen to Luna if something happened to him. And most of all, he wondered if their connection was permanent, or if there was some way to help Luna become independent again. Little did David know that these questions would soon become much more urgent, and that their quiet life at the observatory was about to be turned upside down. 1 month after David found Luna, their quiet life at the observatory was completely disrupted. It started with a phone call from Dr. Peterson on a Thursday morning. David, you need to come in early today. There are some people here who want to talk to you and Luna. David felt his stomach drop. What kind of people? Government researchers. They're asking a lot of questions about the night you found her. They have equipment with them, and they seem to know more about Luna than they're telling me. David hung up the phone and looked at Luna, who was sitting by the window reading one of his astronomy books. Over the past month, she had learned to read English very quickly, almost as if she was remembering something she had forgotten rather than learning something new. Luna, we have a problem. When David explained about the government researchers, Luna became very quiet. She had been getting stronger and more confident over the past few weeks, but now she looked scared again. David, there's something I haven't told you about my situation. I don't think I'm the only one of my kind who has come to your world. What do you mean? Luna closed the astronomy book and looked directly at him. Sometimes, late at night, I can sense others like me. They're far away, but they're here. And if government people are investigating, they might have found the others. This news shocked David. The idea that there might be other people like Luna, with similar breathing problems and similar needs, was both exciting and frightening. How many others do you think there are? I'm not sure. Maybe 5 or 6. They feel distant and weak, like they're struggling to survive. David and Luna drove to the observatory together, both of them nervous about what they would find. When they arrived, David saw 3 black cars parked outside and several people in suits walking around with electronic devices. Inside, Dr. Peterson introduced them to Agent Rodriguez, a woman in her 40s who seemed kind but very serious. David, Luna, thank you for coming. We have some questions about the night Luna appeared here. Agent Rodriguez showed them photographs taken by satellites on the night David found Luna. The pictures showed bright lights in the sky above the observatory, lights that formed strange patterns unlike anything David had ever seen. Luna, these lights appeared in the sky about an hour before David found you. Can you explain what they are? Luna looked at the photographs for a long time before answering. They're doorways, she said quietly. Doorways between my world and yours. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward with interest. And you came through one of these doorways? Not exactly. I was traveling between worlds when something went wrong. Instead of arriving safely, I crashed into your world. That's why I was so hurt when David found me. David felt proud of Luna for being honest, but he was also worried about what these government people planned to do with this information. Agent Rodriguez asked many more questions. She wanted to know about Luna's homeworld, about her abilities, and especially about her connection to David. Some of the questions made David uncomfortable because they were very personal. Luna, you say you can't survive without being near David. Have you tried being near other people? Yes, but it doesn't work. Only David's energy matches mine. David, have you noticed any changes in yourself since Luna arrived? David hesitated. He had noticed many changes, but he wasn't sure he wanted to share them with strangers. I feel healthier, he said carefully. Agent Rodriguez smiled. David, we know there have been significant changes. Our medical scanners have detected unusual energy patterns around both of you. Your brain activity has changed, and your blood chemistry is different from normal human ranges. This information surprised David. He hadn't realized that the changes were so obvious that machines could detect them. Are the changes dangerous? David asked. We don't know yet. That's why we need to study your situation more carefully. Luna grabbed David's hand tightly. What does that mean? Are you going to separate us? We need to run some tests. It would be safer if we could study each of you individually. No, Luna said firmly. If you separate us, I'll die. And I think David will be seriously hurt too. Agent Rodriguez looked at David. Is that true? Do you feel like you depend on Luna now? David thought about this question honestly. Over the past month, he had tried a few times to spend longer periods away from Luna, thinking it might help her become more independent. Each time he had felt anxious and empty, like something important was missing from his life. Yes, he admitted. I think I do depend on her now. Agent Rodriguez nodded, as if she had expected this answer. David, Luna, what I'm about to tell you might be hard to understand. You're not the first pair we've encountered like this. She showed them files containing photographs and reports about other people around the world who had formed similar connections with beings like Luna. Some of the cases went back several years. In every case, a being from another dimension has formed a survival bond with a human. The bond is always mutual. Both parties become dependent on each other. We've been studying these cases to try to understand what's happening. David looked through the files with growing amazement. There were cases from Japan, Brazil, Canada, and several other countries. In each case, the story was similar to his and Luna's. What happened to these other pairs? David asked. Agent Rodriguez looked sad. That's what we're trying to prevent from happening to you. In most cases, after a period of months or years, the non-human partner suddenly disappeared. They seemed to be called back to their home dimension. When that happened, their human partner became very sick. Some of them died. David felt cold with fear. Are you saying Luna is going to disappear? We don't know, but we want to help you both avoid that outcome. That's why we need to study your connection more carefully. Luna was quiet for a long time before speaking. Agent Rodriguez, the others, like me, who disappeared, did they want to leave, or were they forced to leave? According to our research, they seemed to be fighting against leaving, but something was calling them back, something they couldn't resist. Luna looked at David with worry in her eyes. David, I've been feeling that call too. It started about a week ago. It's like voices in my head telling me to come home. This was the first time Luna had mentioned anything like this, and it scared David terribly. Luna, why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to worry you, and I didn't want you to think I wanted to leave. I've been fighting against the voices because I want to stay here with you. Agent Rodriguez looked very interested in this information. Luna, these voices, are they getting stronger? Luna nodded reluctantly. Yes, every day they get a little stronger, and every day it gets a little harder to ignore them. David felt like his world was falling apart. Just when he thought he understood his situation with Luna, everything had become much more complicated and dangerous. Agent Rodriguez, what can we do? Is there a way to help Luna resist these voices? We have some ideas, but they would require both of you to come with us to a research facility where we can monitor you closely and try different treatments." David and Luna looked at each other. They both knew that going with the government researchers might be their only hope of staying together, but it also meant giving up their freedom and privacy. "If we come with you, will you promise not to separate us?" David asked. "We'll do everything we can to keep you together. But David, you need to understand that we might not be able to save Luna. And if she's forced to return to her dimension, we might not be able to save you either." As David and Luna sat in the WAM observatory that had become their home, they realized they had to make an impossible choice. They could stay and hope that Luna could resist the voices calling her home, or they could trust the government researchers and hope that science could find a way to break the connection that was both keeping Luna alive and potentially putting David in danger. Either way, David knew that their quiet, simple life together was over, and that much bigger challenges lay ahead. 3 months had passed since David and Luna agreed to work with Agent Rodriguez and her team at the government research facility. The place was nothing like David had imagined. Instead of cold laboratories and scary equipment, it felt more like a comfortable hotel with medical equipment. David and Luna had their own connected rooms, and the staff treated them with respect and kindness. But despite the comfortable surroundings, both David and Luna were struggling. The voices calling Luna back to her home dimension had grown much stronger. Sometimes she would stop in the middle of a conversation, her eyes glazing over as if she was listening to something only she could hear. "They're getting louder," Luna told David one morning as they sat in the facility's garden. "And David, I'm starting to understand what they're saying." David felt his heart sink. Over the past month, he had watched Luna become more distant and confused. Sometimes she would speak in a language he didn't recognize, or she would stare at empty spaces as if she could see things that weren't there. "What are they telling you?" David asked gently. Luna took his hand, and as always, that familiar warm energy passed between them. But lately the energy felt different, weaker and less stable. "They're telling me that my time here is almost over. They're saying that staying in your dimension too long is dangerous for both of our worlds. David, they're telling me that I have to choose." "Choose what?" "Choose between staying here with you and saving both of our worlds from something terrible." Before David could ask what Luna meant, Dr. Chen, one of the lead researchers, approached them. Dr. Chen was a kind woman who had become like a friend to both David and Luna over the past few months. "David, Luna, we need to talk. We've made some discoveries that you both need to know about." They followed Dr. Chen to a conference room where Agent Rodriguez and several other researchers were waiting. The walls were covered with charts, photographs, and computer screens showing data that David didn't understand. "David, Luna, what we're about to tell you will be difficult to hear," Agent Rodriguez began. "But you deserve to know the truth about what's happening." Dr. Chen pulled up a large screen showing a map of the world with glowing dots scattered across different countries. "These dots represent all the cases like yours that we've been tracking. As you can see, there are now 47 active pairs worldwide." David was shocked. When they first came to the facility, Agent Rodriguez had mentioned only a few cases. 47? How is that possible? "The number has been growing rapidly over the past 6 months," Dr. Chen explained. "It seems like more beings from Luna's dimension are arriving in our world every week." Agent Rodriguez pointed to another screen that showed strange energy readings. "But that's not the most concerning part. David, Luna, the connections between paired individuals are creating energy disturbances that are affecting both dimensions." Luna squeezed David's hand tightly. "What kind of disturbances?" "Think of it like this," Dr. Chen said. "Imagine 2 rooms connected by a door. Every time someone opens the door, a little bit of air from each room mixes with the other. Now imagine 47 doors opening and closing constantly. Eventually, the air in both rooms becomes unstable." David began to understand what they were saying. "Are you telling us that our connections are damaging both worlds?" "Not damaging exactly, but changing them in ways that could become dangerous," Agent Rodriguez said. "In Luna's dimension, the frequent openings between worlds are causing climate problems. In our dimension, we're seeing unusual weather patterns and energy fluctuations near each paired location." Luna stood up suddenly, looking frightened. That's what the voices have been trying to tell me. They're not just calling me home because they miss me. They're calling me home because staying here is hurting everyone. Dr. Chen nodded sadly. Luna, we believe that's correct. The beings in your dimension have figured out that the connections need to be broken to prevent serious problems. In both worlds. David felt like the floor was falling out from under him. But if Luna goes back to her dimension, what happens to me? And what happens to all the other humans who are connected to beings like Luna? The room went quiet for a moment before Agent Rodriguez answered. David, we've been studying the cases where beings like Luna have already returned home. The results are not good. When the connection is broken suddenly, the human partner usually becomes very sick. Some have died. But we've been working on a solution, Dr. Chen added quickly. We think we might have found a way to break the connections gradually, in a way that would allow both partners to survive. Luna looked hopeful for the first time in weeks. What kind of solution? Dr. Chen showed them a complex machine that looked like a large medical scanner. This device can slowly reduce the energy connection between paired individuals over a period of several weeks. Instead of a sudden break that would shock both of your systems, it would be like slowly turning down the volume on a radio. Has it been tested? David asked. We've run computer simulations and the results look promising. But David, Luna, you would be the first real test. There are risks. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. The risks are significant. The process might not work at all. It might make Luna's condition worse. And David, even if it works perfectly, you would still experience some permanent changes. You would never be quite the same as you were before you met Luna. David looked at Luna, who was staring at the machine with a mixture of hope and fear. He realized that this might be their only chance to save both of their worlds while still having a possibility of both surviving. What are the risks if we don't try it? David asked. If Luna returns to her dimension without gradually breaking the connection, you will almost certainly die within a few days, Dr. Chen said bluntly. And if she stays here, both dimensions will continue to become more unstable. Eventually, the damage might be irreversible. Luna turned to David with tears in her eyes. David, I can't let you die because of me. And I can't let my staying here destroy both of our worlds. We have to try the machine. David felt scared, but he also felt something else. Determination. Over the past few months, he had learned that love sometimes means making difficult choices. Luna, whatever happens, we'll face it together. Agent Rodriguez looked relieved. There's one more thing you should know. If the process works, Luna will be able to return to her dimension safely, and you will be able to live normally in this dimension. But the connection that has kept you together will be gone forever. This hit David harder than all the talk about risks and dangers. The connection with Luna had become such a deep part of who he was that imagining life without it felt like imagining life without breathing. You mean we'll never see each other again? David asked quietly. We don't know, Dr. Chen admitted. It's possible that once the energy connection is broken, Luna won't be able to survive in this dimension at all, even for short visits. Luna was crying now, but they were tears of determination rather than despair. David, even if we can never see each other again, I want you to live a full life in your world. I want you to be happy. David pulled Luna into his arms, feeling the warm energy of their connection flowing between them. He realized that this might be one of the last times he would ever feel it. Luna, you've changed my life in ways I never imagined. Whatever happens, I will never regret finding you in that storm. As they held each other in the research facility, surrounded by machines and scientists trying to save two worlds, David knew that they were about to face the biggest challenge of their lives. Tomorrow, they would begin the process that might save everyone or destroy everything they had built together. But tonight they still had their connection, and David was determined to hold on to every moment of it. The machine hummed quietly in the medical room where David and Luna had spent the last 2 weeks. It was a sound that had become as familiar to them as breathing. Every day they would sit connected to the device for several hours while it slowly worked to separate the energy bond that had kept them together for so many months. Dr. Chen checked the monitors one more time before looking at David and Luna with a mixture of excitement and concern. Today is the day. she said softly. According to our readings, the connection between you two has been reduced to less than 5% of its original strength. We think Luna should be able to return to her dimension safely now. David felt his stomach twist into knots. They had known this day was coming, but actually hearing the words made it feel suddenly real. In a few hours, Luna would step through a portal back to her home dimension, and he might never see her again. Over the past 2 weeks, as their connection had slowly weakened, David had watched Luna change. She seemed more like herself, stronger, more confident, and less dependent on being near him. But he had changed too. The constant warm energy that had flowed through his body was almost gone now, and he felt somehow empty, like a house with all the lights turned off. "How do you feel, Luna?" Dr. Chen asked. Luna stood up and walked across the room, something she hadn't been able to do without David nearby since the night he found her. "I feel free," she said, but there was sadness in her voice. "And I feel homesick for the first time since I arrived here." Agent Rodriguez entered the room carrying a tablet with important-looking documents. "Luna, we've established contact with representatives from your dimension. They've confirmed that they can open a portal for your return this afternoon. They also wanted me to give you this message." Luna read the message on the tablet, and David watched her face go through several emotions: relief, joy, and then deep sadness. "What does it say?" David asked. "My family is alive and well. The climate problems in my dimension have been getting worse, but they're confident that when all the connected beings return home, things will start to improve." Luna paused and looked at David with tears in her eyes. "They also said that once I return, the dimensional barriers will be strengthened to prevent this situation from happening again. David, this really will be goodbye forever." David had known this was likely, but hearing it confirmed felt like a physical blow. "I understand," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Your world needs you, and you need to be there." Dr. Chen looked at both of them with compassion. "David, Luna, I want you to know that what you've done here, agreeing to be part of this experimental process, and you've probably saved countless lives in both dimensions. The other paired individuals around the world are now going through the same process you pioneered." Agent Rodriguez nodded. "As of this morning, 15 other pairs have successfully completed the separation process. Everyone is surviving, and the energy disturbances between dimensions are already starting to decrease." This news made David feel a little better. At least their sacrifice was helping other people in similar situations. Luna spent the next few hours saying goodbye to the research staff who had become like family to them. Dr. Chen gave her a small device that could translate human languages, saying it was a gift to remember Earth by. Agent Rodriguez presented her with a collection of photographs showing beautiful places on Earth that Luna had always wanted to visit, but never had the chance to see. Finally, it was time for David and Luna to have their private goodbye. They sat together in the garden where they had spent so many hours talking over the past few months. The late afternoon sun was warm on their faces, and David tried to memorize every detail of this moment. The way Luna's hair moved in the breeze, the sound of her laugh when he told a silly joke, the way her eyes still changed color in different light. "David, I need you to promise me something," Luna said, taking his hands in hers. For the first time in weeks, David felt a tiny spark of their old energy connection. "Anything. Promise me that you'll live a full life, fall in love again, travel to new places, keep studying the stars. Don't spend your life missing me." David knew that Luna was right, but the thought of loving someone else seemed impossible. "Luna, what you and I had, I don't think I'll ever find anything like it again." "You won't find the same thing," Luna agreed. "But you might find something different that's just as wonderful." "David, our connection was special, but it was also unnatural. Now you get to discover what natural human love feels like." As the sun began to set, Dr. Chen came to tell them that the portal was ready. David and Luna walked hand in hand to the laboratory where a shimmering doorway had appeared in the air. Through the portal, David could see glimpses of Luna's world. Sky with 2 moons, trees with silver leaves, and air that seemed to sparkle with its own light. It's beautiful, David said, genuinely amazed. It is, Luna agreed, and it's where I belong. Several beings from Luna's dimension were waiting on the other side of the portal. They looked similar to Luna but with subtle differences. Their skin had different patterns. Their eyes were different colors, and they moved with a grace that seemed almost like dancing. One of them, a tall woman with golden eyes, stepped part way through the portal. Luna, child, it's time to come home. Luna turned to David one last time. David, thank you for saving my life. Thank you for caring for me when I couldn't care for myself. And thank you for letting me go when I needed to leave. David pulled Luna into his arms for a final hug. Thank you for showing me that the universe is even more amazing than I ever imagined. Thank you for teaching me what it means to put someone else's needs before my own. They kissed goodbye, a soft, gentle kiss that tasted like tears and starlight. Then Luna walked through the portal and was gone. The shimmering doorway closed with a sound like wind chimes, leaving David standing in a laboratory that suddenly felt very empty and quiet. Dr. Chen put a gentle hand on David's shoulder. David, how do you feel? David took a deep breath and realized that for the first time in months he felt completely alone in his own body. There was no warm energy flowing through him, no sense of Luna's emotions mixing with his own, no invisible connection tying him to another person. It felt strange and lonely, but it also felt like freedom. I feel sad, David said honestly, but I also feel proud. We did the right thing. Over the next few weeks, David slowly returned to his normal life. He went back to work at the observatory, where Dr. Peterson welcomed him with understanding and kindness. He moved back to his small apartment and began reconnecting with friends he had neglected during his months with Luna. The changes in David were permanent, but not unpleasant. His senses remained sharper than they had been before meeting Luna. He could see colors more vividly and hear sounds more clearly. His dreams were filled with memories of Luna's world, giving him ideas for new research projects about the possibility of parallel dimensions. Most importantly, David discovered that his capacity for love had not been diminished by losing Luna. If anything, the experience had taught him how to love more deeply and selflessly. 6 months after Luna returned home, David was working late at the observatory when he noticed something unusual in the night sky. For just a moment, he could have sworn he saw 2 moons hanging in the darkness above Earth. He smiled, knowing it was impossible but choosing to believe it anyway. Somewhere in another dimension, Luna was looking up at her own night sky. And maybe, just maybe, she was thinking of him too. David returned to his work, studying the endless stars and feeling grateful for a universe vast enough to contain impossible love stories and the wisdom to know when to let them go. The connection was gone, but the love remained forever.